Intersection Magazine podcast.
Welcome to Intersection Magazine podcast. This will be a summary of the June issue of Intersection Magazine. What we do is, for those who are not too literally inclined, we create an audio version of the podcast where we cover some of the major ideas without compromising the content for those who are actually paying for the subscription. So we'll just give you highlights of what we cover, while those who subscribe to the magazine can get the full issue and get the content as it stands and benefit from what we've written and tried to research or reshare from sources that we think can be of benefit to you. Once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. So this is the June 2025 issue of Intersection Magazine, Volume 9, Issue 9. So for June 2025, the cover is pretty much a continuation of the piece of Africa Reimagined. Africa Reimagined was put together by Included VC. Included VC has been in this space for a while. And on day one, for the few conversations that I was able to capture, this is a conversation with the Jedar capital, Sheriff Nessim. And he pretty much summarizes what North Africa looks like in terms of an ecosystem, who the key players are, what those countries are doing in terms of what are their stats, what are geographical issues, or what are the geographical advantages that they're taking advantage of in North Africa, such as proximity to Europe, access to the Middle East, because the North Africa is often bundled up into what they call MENA, or Middle East and Northern Africa. He also talks about the accessibility to funding through different funding vehicles that exist in Northern Africa. He also talks about or at least I noticed the intricacies or the access that Northern Africa has to Western Africa and French-speaking Western Africa. So the language advantage exists, of course, as well as Arabic. So there's the advantage that, in my view, Northern Africa has probably more access or a greater ability to interact with Western Africa than East or Southern Africa. Northern Africa as well also has the ability to interact with Europe and to access the markets there, as well as the capital there, and to give their startups a bigger potential to fund and to scale. And then, of course, in the Middle East, where they have the advantage of their language, as well as access to different funding instruments and sovereign funds related to different leadership systems. Challenges existing in Northern Africa would be, of course, political instability, as well as the Arab Spring, which would have been a good step in terms of rearranging the political landscape as well as the economic landscape. But for many, the Arab Spring, especially the aftermath, may have had some negative effects in the region. But Sheriff Nessim's conversation is necessary, and the ideas that he covers are useful for those who want to understand the region in a much better way. We also have our Founders Freedom section, where we talk about, or at least cover, some of the offerings that they have as Founders Freedom. Founders Freedom is a group we have a partnership with as Intersection Magazine and as Hope First Enterprises to collaborate on content as well as to share spaces and to promote each other's content. But Founders Freedom probably needs very little in terms of contribution from me, because their work is quite extensive and useful for those who want to study African business, especially Black-owned businesses on the continent and in the region, especially East Africa. Those who are facing challenges with succession, with longevity, with management, with the setting up of boards. Founders Freedom works in all these areas and helps small businesses and businesses that are promising to have legitimate structure that can both cause growth and improve the chances of success. We also have the 9 Habits of World-Class Startups, as written by James Currier of NFX. NFX has been responsible for the whole subject or idea behind network effects. You can read about what network effects are. And so we share this piece, probably the second after what we shared last month. And so he has some interesting ideas about what these habits are and what he's noticed or what they've noticed about startups that manage to make a dent in society. Finally, we have a piece from X. I created this section trying to highlight some of the conversations or the pieces or the write-ups that I've come across in my social media from X to LinkedIn that have stood out and that I believe can benefit many of my readers. Nikolai Sven Christensen is a personality on X whose conversation about reputation, I think, will be useful for many of you who may not necessarily have understood the value that lies between the character that you have and what it can do for you as a currency for the opening of doors. We talk about a lot networking and networks and your net worth, but a lot of those hinge on your character and how, in my view and in his view, this reputation is actually a currency within itself. So you will find that conversation interesting. He wrote a thread, so what I did is I got that thread and put it together in terms of a conversation or a 4-page piece. The lessons that he learned or that we can learn about reputation. So he covers the life of Warren Buffett with a crisis that he had a few years ago and how he solved it, of course, in the public domain. I think you'll find that interesting. Our usual ad pieces on the podcast are also in this magazine. So that's Intersection Magazine podcast, as well as TTRT, or Transition, Transformation, and Radical Thinking podcast. And then we also have other pieces that we share, such as my film review and my book recommendation. We have the last 4 months, which we've also shared with you. Now, another idea that I wanted to share with you for those who are in the country and are looking for a place to relax and to rest, to get away from the hustle and bustle of city life. If you're looking for a quiet spot, well secured from quite a distance from the city, with all the amenities you can think of, as I said, secure, there's CCTV, there's a guard, 24-hour guard. It's a gated, community-gated facility, fully stocked kitchen with a host that can prepare meals, which you're free to bring. Breakfast was provided for free. There's a nice dining area. There are 2 rooms. There's a garden with fruit trees as well as quite a lot of vegetation. Interestingly, what is not traditional about this place is you can also learn quite a lot about agriculture on a small scale. All this comes to you for the price of $60 a day. I spent my day there, learned quite a lot, was able to do some thinking. It's located maybe about 40 miles from the city. You can approach it either from Bombo Road, or you can approach it from Gayaza Zirogwe Road. So access is not a problem. The facility as well has solar power, so the challenges that we normally face with power can be solved easily. So I'm giving you what it will cost you for a day or 2 if you want to have a weekend of rest and relaxation, as well as some learning. But we are also, or the owner is also open to conversations for those of you who may want to think about setting aside some money to purchase the facility. So those conversations are also happening as we speak. You can get in touch with us or with me directly as the host of this podcast, and I can help connect you to the owner of the facility. So as the option is really up to you to come and spend a day, to relax, and then if you really like the place and if you're thinking about something that you can invest in the future, that conversation can also be had. We're targeting or thinking about those who are maybe not in the country and want some investment for either themselves or for their children, or others that may be thinking about some place that they can retire to that's safe after a life lived abroad, who may not necessarily be interested in reconstructing, which can be expensive, as well as, of course, purchasing land. So this is a good option for those of you who are who fit that particular description. That's what we covered in this June issue of the magazine. As usual, we have some poetry as well as some pieces for those of you who are interested in Hope First Bakery and the work we do there. It's a little bit of experimentation shown in the 27th page, as well as, of course, access to Hope First Bakeries for those who are interested in making some orders. So that's really what we covered in June of 2025. Once again, those of you who are subscribing, thank you for subscribing. It will cost you 25 or 24 USD to get a copy of the magazine sent to your socials. It's in PDF format. And so we pretty much cover technology and innovation, all subjects around those ideas, with the view of attracting attention to those who are looking for alternative investment vehicles in the country and in the region. So, as I said before, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. I've been your host, Nicholas Kianda. Talk to you soon.
Intersection Magazine Podcast.